Alright, hi, welcome or welcome back to the channel. I am Mary, and in this video, what I'm going to be talking a bit about is your state of being and the way that your state may drift. So with that being said, how does your state drift? What causes your state to drift? When you get into your desirable state, when you embody it, when you live it, when you have the momentum, what causes it to drift? What causes you to get out of that desirable state? And how can you shift it? How can you shift back into your desirable state? And how have you changed your state within the past? So those are the three anchoring questions for you all today. The first one is, what causes my state to drift? The second question is, did I say, oh my goodness, if I said second for the first, apologies. If not, whatever. But anyways, the first question, let me just restate. The first question, the first anchoring question is, what causes your state to drift? The second anchoring question is, how to shift back into your desirable state. The third question is, how have you changed your state within the past? So when it comes to the first anchoring question, what causes your state to drift? You want to become aware of this, because the more that you're aware of when your state drifts into an undesirable state, the more you're able to get into the present moment, self-regulate, and align back into the desirable state. So the more that you do this, the more you remember, and the more that you'll recall your desirable state, and the more you'll remember and recall your undesirable state. So when you're fully aware of your undesirable state and your desirable state, you see them clearly. So you can make that choice as to what state to embody and be in, just by simply aligning and making that connection, making that decision. So what causes your state to drift? All right. And if you find that it's specific people, specific places, specific situations and circumstances, find ways to overcome those people, those situations, and those circumstances. Find ways to overcome them so they don't have the power to drift your state of being, so they don't have any power over you. Okay? Once you really are anchored in your desired state of being, once you really are anchored in there and you're grounded in it, those people, those places, those situations and circumstances that once had the power to drift you out of your state of being no longer will. I guarantee you'll find yourself in moments where you would have drifted, but you find yourself being grounded and anchoring into the present moment. And you find yourself in these moments where you see your past self. And those moments are the moments where you know you've overcome those past selves, or that past self. All right. So, second question, how to shift back into the desirable state, how to shift back into this state, is by self-regulating, by grounding yourself, by getting present and reminding yourself of the state you want to be in. Now, if you find yourself in a state where you've drifted, spiraled down into, let's say, a negative state of being, give yourself time, give yourself patience, give yourself grace, give yourself kindness, be gentle with yourself. And remind yourself that you've overcome these negative states before, and you can and you will again. Just give yourself a moment to process what's taken place. And as you do that, consciously decide to shift. You see, when it comes to being in an undesirable state and a desirable state, or being in a negative state and a positive state, there's a transitioning period. It's a process. So as you find yourself in, let's say, a neutralized state where you are balanced, where you're not in your desirable state, but you're not in your undesirable state, but you're okay, you're balanced, you're cool. There is a process that takes place when you get into those negative states. It's a process. And it's a process when you get into those positive states. It's a process that takes place. So if you find yourself in a negative state of being and you're dwelling there, and however long you are there, it's a process to get out of that. But the key is, how long is that process going to take? And that's totally up to you. It's up to you. And it just really depends on where it is that you are at mentally, emotionally, physically, environmentally. So the goal is to dwell in a neutralized state, right? In a balanced state, so that you don't spiral into the negatives, and so that you don't even, let's say, spiral always into the positives. There is such thing as called toxic positivity. I'm sure you guys have heard of that toxic positivity. There is such thing as that. So being in a balanced, neutralized state should be the goal when it comes to our dwelling state. All right. But the whole purpose is to be aware of when we are in a negative state and when we're in a positive state, and finding a balance between the two, because you can learn a lot about your negative state and you can learn so much about your positive state. It's just all about being aware, present, and conscious. The more you're able to be aware and present, and the more you're able to process, integrate, and learn about your negatives, the more you'll appreciate, and the more you'll learn and get to become aware of your positives. So the second anchoring question for you all, again, is how to shift back into a desirable state. All right. So then the third anchoring question is, and was, how have I changed within the past? How have I changed my state within the past? You'll find that as you begin to track, and as you begin to track your progress, when you begin to really change your state of being and align to your desirable state, you'll find that there's specific ways and techniques that get you into that state. And the more aware you are of those techniques and those habits, those routines, then you can be like, oh, okay, so when I act and I do this, and when I eat these foods, when I exercise, blah, 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 then I'm in a good state of being. Let me do more of that. All right. So you may be saying right now, all right, sometimes those things get old. Sometimes you may find yourself in a state where the things that once kept you elevated sort of no longer do. They're more like neutralizing now. This is where trying new things come into play. Exploring new things, new ways of thinking, new ways of feeling, new ways of connecting and bonding with people, new going to new environmental settings and places come into play. So with all of that being said, I'm going to leave this video here, and the anchoring questions again that were for you all today were: what causes your state to drift, how to shift back into the state, and how have you changed your state within the past. So with all of that being said, I'm going to leave this video here, and I'll see you all within another video.